Good evening, I'm Katerina Georgieva. This is CBC Windsor News. Thanks for watching. Tonight, a retired police officer's push for justice. Plus, the plans for the Civic Esplanade are being laid out. What might that look like for the downtown core? We told you last night about city trees newly surrounded by asphalt, but now another change. And an iconic building is slated to be demolished. We'll catch up with the photographer who has visited the landmark hundreds of times. A retired Windsor police officer says she is still seeking justice 8 years after she experienced a homophobic comment from a high-ranking fire official. Now she is speaking about it publicly for the first time and about her human rights complaint, which continues to drag on with no end in sight. The CBC's Jason Vio joins us now with this exclusive story. Jason, let's start with what happened back in 2015.
Well, there was a private meeting among Windsor fire officials, and among them was Andrea DeJong, a deputy fire chief at the time. And one of the things they were discussing was educational programming at the Safety Village, something both police and fire help with. And it was in that meeting that DeJong used a homophobic slur when referring to Staff Sergeant Maureen Rudall. Rudall was the first openly gay Windsor police officer. She wasn't in that meeting when the slur was used. Fire employees who were there later told Rudall about what happened.
It was really awful. I mean, you can imagine 3.5 decades of policing and being the first out gay person on the Windsor Police Service, how difficult that would have been. I was shocked. I was shocked that, that it was a deputy of fire that would make a comment like that. I mean, I really was in disbelief. I thought this can't be, not in this day and age, that, that someone in that position of authority would use those kind of comments.
Jason, after hearing about this, what did Rudall do?
Well, she filed a complaint with the city, so internally back in 2016, and Rudall said it was a human resources employee that conducted that investigation. DeJong admitted to using the homophobic slur, and during a recorded interview with the city, she explained why. Now have a listen, and a warning though, what you're about to hear contains the use of that slur.
What the comment was, somebody asked me for clarification on which police officer it was at the Safety Village. Was it the blonde one or the other one? And I said, it's the other one. And they said, the tall one. And I said, no, it's the dyke. So to be clarified, when I use that word, that's generic terminology to me. Same as I call my brother a bear. It's just generic descriptive terminology. That's all it is. It's not a I know that she thinks, or it's been inferred and it's kind of turned into that, but it was never ever a homosexual slur at any kind of, in any way, shape, or form.
DeJong now works as deputy chief at the fire department in St. Catharines. We reached out to her multiple times, but DeJong didn't respond to our request for a comment. In the end, the city investigation recommended she get sensitivity training, apologized to Rudall, and Rudall also said DeJong was suspended for 2 weeks.
Jason, what else did Rudall learn about the investigation? Well,
Bruce Montone, chief of fire at the time in Windsor, was interviewed as a part of that city's investigation. And what he said during that recorded interview is something Rudall finds in some ways more offensive than the slur itself. Have a listen.
When I think about Maureen at the level she's risen to in the organization she's with, and the role she plays in the community, I would suggest to you that she probably has thicker skin than what's being portrayed. Just trying to apply some, experience and knowledge. It occurs, and so this can't be the worst that she's ever been exposed to. This seems, frankly, perhaps a little out of proportion for what they've been exposed to. That's all I'm saying.
Rudall said she wonders when the fire chief feels that way and says those things, how effective will discipline be and what type of culture exists in that organization. Now, we did reach out to Montone as well, who is now Amherstburg's fire chief, to comment on his remarks. He declined.
Jason, how did Rudall feel about the city's investigation?
Well, the outcome and the investigation itself, she kind of describes as laughable. Rudall wanted to see more transparency and accountability. Primarily, though, she wanted it investigated by someone of a higher rank than the deputy fire chief or by an external agency.
So what happens next, Jason?
Well, the complaint she filed with the Human Rights Tribunal of Ontario back in 2016, that still continues. There was mediation this past March, which was unsuccessful. Rudall said she's been told a trial in the human rights case is going to happen for another 2 or 3 years. And these types of lengthy delays are pretty common. The tribunal aims to resolve matters within 18 months, but they tell CBC News there are currently 5,000 cases that exceed that goal, and they say they're working to address those delays. Now, in the meantime, Rudall said it would be easier for her just to let this go since she retired as a police officer in 2018. Have a listen to why she says she's continuing to pursue this.
I think I became a police officer because I wanted justice. I wanted people to be held accountable, and this is the farthest thing from being held accountable. But I made a commitment to the fire personnel that came forward to do the right thing, that I would follow this through, and I'm going to. And you know, as a female in policing and having to go through the things I did, especially as a gay officer, I'm not gonna let this go.
And another big reason Rudall said she won't let this go, she says she spent 13 years defending the rights of victims who were abused or assaulted. And she said many of them were brave enough to come forward and see that legal process through to the end. And even though it would be easier to drop her complaint, especially now that she's in retirement, Rudall said pursuing justice and some resolution in this case is simply the right thing to do.
Thanks for bringing us this story, Jason.
Thank you.
City Council will soon be considering multi-million-dollar investments to the Civic Esplanade. It's a massive change that will reshape the way things look between City Hall and the river. But as Del Molnar reports, not all councillors are in favor of going ahead.
We need to be able to give all of our residents some fun, some healthy outdoor leisurely activities.
Councillor Ronaldo Augustino represents the downtown and is chair of the committee overseeing the project. The Esplanade project is called Light the Path. It consists of 5 segments. In front of City Hall, amenities include a new ice rink and an outline of historic buildings, a link to the Underground Railroad. At Charles Clark Square, a new stage and flexible gathering space. In the area between the courthouse and casino, and Arts Park with art installations. And then segments 4 and 5 consist of streetscaping enhancements and a bridge over Riverside Drive with the Underground Railroad monument as a major theme, including a telescope to view the monument in Detroit.
We turn that into a paving pattern, and it leads from the Tower of Freedom across Riverside Drive and out to our overlook, where there's a special kind of overlook plaza that would have viewers where you could, really make that connection, and there could be some signage and interpretation of those 2 monuments to really strengthen the connection between the 2.
Councillor Fred Francis likes the concept but believes it should be put off for a few years.
I have to stay consistent and hold true to what I believe in, and I just believe the money can be spent better elsewhere, and specifically on fixing our roads.
But Augustino says these enhancements are needed now.
And as it stands right now, if you're a local event promoter, whether you want to do a Jurassic Park style type of event, a viewing, a small movie theater, a small play, a family skate, a community skate, there's nothing that exists here right now for that. So we need to have that here.
People CBC spoke with like the project.
And for the community here to bring people downtown and by the City Hall, especially the nice weather, cannot go wrong.
To me, it makes sense because there's not much space for skating at Charles Clark Square, and since they plan on expanding the green space, it makes sense to make it so there's skating and everything else.
The plans for the project will go before City Council on May 29th, and that's when we'll find out more detail on how much this will cost. Dale Molnar, CBC News, Windsor.
An update now on a story we brought you last night about a couple trees downtown. People told us they were confused about this situation on University Avenue, a tree with asphalt poured around it. The city says staff used a cold mix that would not harm the roots, and it was done after people complained that the roots could be possible tripping hazards. Now, last night, another change. This is what the tree looks like now. City staff tell us that the cold mix has been replaced so that it's more visually pleasing while still keeping pedestrians safe. A warning now that this next story deals with suicide. The man accused of selling a potentially toxic substance to people at risk for suicide made a court appearance this morning in Brampton. Police arrested Kenneth Law last week as part of their investigation into sudden deaths linked to sodium nitrite. Law is accused of selling the chemical to people online. He's charged with 2 counts of counseling or aiding suicide in connection with 2 Toronto area deaths. Police are also looking into similar cases across Canada and worldwide. Megan Fitzpatrick has more from outside the courthouse.
Kenneth Law made another brief court appearance here in Brampton today. He made one yesterday as well. Yesterday, his case was adjourned until this morning, and now this morning, his case has been adjourned yet again, now until next Monday. Kenneth Law appeared by video link, not physically in the courtroom, but appearing by video from a cell, and he remains in custody, and the next court appearance is when potentially a date will be set for a bail hearing. That has not happened yet. He has been in custody since his arrest on May 2nd by Peel Regional Police. He is facing 2 charges of counseling or aiding suicide. Peel Police say they launched an investigation at the end of March following the sudden death of a resident in this jurisdiction, and they allege and they believe that that individual consumed sodium nitrite that was bought from an online business linked to Kenneth Law. And Peel Police allege that Kenneth Law was marketing this product to people at risk of self-harm. The product itself is legal, but it can be potentially deadly if people consume it in certain quantities. These are just allegations at this point. Nothing has been proven in court, but those are the charges that Kenneth Law is facing. And Peel Police are working with other police agencies across the province, across the country, and even internationally as they continue to carry out search warrants and continue this investigation. They say they're looking into over 1,200 packages that they say were mailed out by Kenneth Law to more than 40 countries. Not clear how many of those packages may have contained this substance, but now we're learning that other police agencies are reopening some cases of sudden deaths in their jurisdictions. Toronto Police have confirmed that. Durham Regional Police telling CBC News that they're working with the Office of the Chief Coroner to review sudden death investigations where sodium nitrite was deemed to be the cause of death or a contributing factor. Police agencies are also carrying out wellness checks on individuals at the request of Peel Police, where Peel Police believe those individuals were clients of Kenneth Law's businesses who may have also purchased this product. Halton Police, for example, confirming they've carried out a few checks in recent days. So the investigation continues and the custody of Kenneth Law continues. Again, his next court appearance now due to be next Monday, again here in Brampton. Megan Fitzpatrick, CBC News, Brampton.
A house people have come to know as the most photographed home in Canada is slated for demolition. The Guyot House in Chatham-Kent dates back to the 1850s. It's a popular spot for tourists and photographers looking for that perfect shot. Photographer Nick Seaman has been snapping photos of the house for years. He shared some of his photos with CBC Windsor video producer Mike Evans and reacts to losing the landmark.
My name is Nick Seaman. I've been photographing the Guyot House since approximately 2010. I've always heard about the Guyot House when I was younger, and it was probably around 2010, me and some local photographers decided to make the trek out there. And back then it felt like a long journey. You're young, I'd have been probably 19-ish, around there. Made the trek down number 3 to go find the house and instantly fell in love with it. It was right when I was getting into astrophotography, so it's anyone who's new to the dark outdoors, it's a little spooky. Now I can't drive by without at least taking some shot. So I actually got a photo with Comet Neowise behind it, and so that's not coming back for a few thousand years. It is definitely interesting to go back the 13, 14 years to look at where my photographies came from. We used to be able to walk into the house and walk upstairs and kind of light paint the house, which I'm not advising anybody anymore, or even then was a dumb idea. But now there's the floor's gone, the whole back's collapsed. Every time you drive by, you're like, oh, the wall's missing, and it's definitely on its last legs for sure.
There's some stories about haunting. Anything that you've witnessed that you'd like to share with us?
Oh, actually, yeah. I took a long exposure, came home, I was editing the photo, and I noticed 2 eyes staring at me from just above the window. I sent it to my buddy, and we're kind of freaking out. We're like, what are these eyes? And you zoom in, it's a raccoon. By far has to be the most photographed house in Canada, because every photographer I know has got a shot of it, and every photographer I know can't drive by without getting a shot of it. No matter if it's raining out, there'll be a picture taken. For good reason too. It's a beautiful home, and it's they don't make houses like that anymore. The one more shot I would like to get is the aurora behind it. I would like to make the trek out there and try to get that, and that'll be my bucket list.
How did you feel when you found out that they were going to be taking it down?
It was definitely kind of a bummer, and especially when they kept saying, oh, they've bought a couple more years, like they're gonna maybe keep it. So it's been a little emotional roller coaster in that aspect. But yeah, definitely a bummer for sure. I get it, it's kind of a hazard, but it's a piece of history at this point, and it'd be nice to have it around for years to come.
Those are some incredible photos there. A live look outside. We are on a sunny streak, and I am here for it. Sunshine and a high of 25 on the way for tomorrow as well. Colette Kennedy will join us after the break with more weather. Stay with us. The wildfire danger in Alberta remains high. Crews in parts of the province are taking advantage of a turn in the weather today. Now, they're making some progress, but there are still 76 fires burning and 24 are deemed out of control. CBC's Katie Nicholson is near the community of Wildwood and has the latest on the situation on the ground.
The eerie, smoky aftermath of raging wildfires in High Prairie, Alberta, where the ground isn't the only thing simmering.
We were supposed to be evacuated, but we refused.
Okay, and what did you do instead?
Well, what we did is we just started fighting fire.
Emotions are running high and hot over evacuations and what some say is a lackluster response.
When the fire rolled across into Banana Belt, there was no boots on the ground as far as professional firefighters. Nothing. We didn't see a helicopter or a water bomber for 2 days.
While in Fox Lake Cree Nation, damage assessments bring grief.
This is one of probably the toughest videos to upload.
The community, he says, lost 85 homes to fire so far. Further south, about 100 kilometers west of Edmonton, some evacuation orders are lifted, even as a curtain of smoke hangs low, coming home prompting mixed emotions.
It's exciting and it's scary as well. I didn't expect to see this much smoke coming home, and it was already burning my eyes as we were coming down the hill.
That smoke, a constant reminder of the ongoing dangers in the tinder-dry conditions across the province. It also presents a danger in and of itself, the small particulate matter in the smoke irritating eyes and lungs and posing longer-term risks.
The nanoparticles that get their way into the bloodstream cause effects on other organs. So one of the other things we see after these, at the time of and after these forest fires, is actually an increase in emergency room visits for heart attacks and increased deaths from heart attacks.
Grim news for a province where many regions are awash in smoke. This fire season already 10 times that of a normal one, and it's only just beginning. But what really has officials worried is this weekend's forecast. Temperatures set to soar, and they fear possibly help fuel these fires. Katie Nicholson, CBC News, Wildwood, Alberta.
Colette Kennedy joins us now for more on weather. Now, Colette, I know you've been keeping a close eye on what's happening in Alberta. What stands out for you today?
You know, what stands out for me today is how this kind of ridge and the pattern is actually just going to be doubling down, essentially, in terms of, yes, there's some stuff happening here with some scattered showers and convective stuff, but really over the next few days, we are going to be seeing those temperatures rising. There's a ridge that's going to be building into BC. BC is in trouble, too, because they've got wildfires, but they're also looking at flooding concerns, and I was helping them out with some forecasting there today, and we're also looking at the heat and record heat into the weekend in that region, and they've got the flooding and still have that high snowpack, so at those higher elevations, that's going to start to melt further, and so everything gets exacerbated. So those are a couple of things I'm thinking about. I'm also thinking about the air quality. Of course, this has been expanding as I've been showing you this each day. And then I want to kind of show you something else that I don't use here very often. Now, I'm saying smoke in the atmosphere. Okay, that's my title. But what we're really looking at with this product is black carbon, which you might also think of or know as soot. And in the atmosphere, you know, we've been finding, this is upper atmosphere, okay, bringing that in and around by James Bay into southern Quebec and into Ontario is that smoke, again, higher levels, so it's not necessarily an air quality issue for us, but bringing it into our skies as well. So that hazy or those milky conditions that we see associated with what's happening for our cousins, our friends, our family in Western Canada. All right, our daytime highs today, because we're in a pattern similar, right? A ridge of high pressure, very strong across really North America in its pockets here. Current temperature, 22 degrees. Yes, very mild, very nice day. Nothing the matter with enjoying it. And seeing some of those winds coming in relatively light here, that south to southwesterly flow, still really keeping everything at bay for us. And for southwestern Ontario here, I'm looking at the next best chance of getting some showers coming in, and it's not a good one, but it's likely going to be into Friday. So we'll see them at least getting close. We could get clipped by a light shower as we get into the afternoon hours on Friday. We'll certainly pick up some more cloud cover, but it doesn't appear that there's going to be much with this. So even though you're going to see in my 5-day forecast, I have a chance of showers Friday, Saturday, into Sunday. It's just that. It's a chance. It's nothing too significant. If you've been maybe in some cases jumping the gun trying to get your gardens in and get things going, or even just the potted plants, you're going to be doing some watering here. Overnight tonight, 9 degrees, 12 tomorrow morning. And then how about into the afternoon hours? We're going to be seeing those temperatures really jumping, and we are in for some warm weather the next few days.
Love seeing those numbers. Thanks for that, Colette.
You're welcome.
When we come back, your passport is about to get a new look. We'll tell you more about the changes and the controversy after the break. The federal government has unveiled some big changes to Canadian passports. Starting this fall, most Canadians will be able to renew passports online. That includes submitting passport photos. The look and the features of the passports will also be different.
The improved passport is going to have new, updated features, including state-of-the-art security features that include a polycarbonate data page. This is the same technology that's used to protect our currency and driver's license, for those who are wondering what it means. Additionally, passport holders' personal information will now be laser engraved instead of being printed with ink, which is going to make the data page more durable and resistant to tampering and counterfeiting.
The outside of the passport will still bear the coat of arms, but with a slightly modernized look. Inside, historic images of Terry Fox and the Vimy Ridge Memorial are being replaced with images reflecting nature and what Ottawa calls the diversity of Canadians. The Royal Canadian Legion says it's particularly disappointed over the removal of the Vimy Ridge Memorial. Conservative and NDP members of Parliament have panned the new look because of the changed images. The new look passports will be rolled out in the coming months. And last night, we told you about a super rare bird sighted at Point Pelee. It's a willow ptarmigan, usually found up north. This bird has never been recorded at the national park before. People were really, really excited.
Absolutely insane. I dreamed of seeing this when I was a kid at 15 years old, that this would happen someday. Willow ptarmigan at the tip of Point Pelee. It was actually a dream of mine. I had a dream as a kid. There would be one here someday. I'm shaking, I'm so excited.
Steve Pike sharing that video. A lot of excitement for this bird, and you can see it in that massive crowd surrounding it. Nothing like a bird to make people flock together. That is it for CBC Windsor News. For more, go to our website, cbc.ca/Windsor. You can always find us on Facebook and Instagram as well. Thanks for watching and have a good night.